What I would like to tell you is that I'm lucky to have lived in the present for the last 20 years. And believe me, this is not a grammar problem. Okay? أنا عشت في المستقبل، فالماضي مع المستقبل ما يمشيش، وهذا مش مشكل نحو أو صرف. لكن really, the city of Dubai has given us that opportunity. And I will tell you what's good about that and what's not that good about that. I'm trying to see if my... So while this is on, and you have probably watched this thing, I just want to tell you that at a particular time in Dubai, a map was obsolete by the time it was printed. The actual map and the mental map, you couldn't mental map the city because it was changing all the time. And you know, to belong to a city, you need to own it. You need to have some individual memory and collective memory. In Dubai, very difficult. It's very difficult to build memory, a collective memory, a sense of belonging. It's a very, very comfortable city. It's a beautiful city. It is all the time harvesting beauty. Is it too high? Is it too high? So it's not really working. All right, so this city has evolved. I've lived there for 20 years and I've seen it happen. And so what did we learn from it? It's an open lab. It's an open urban lab. We learned plenty of things. One of them is to differentiate between efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is achieving a lot with fewer resources. Effectiveness is to create a particular effect. So what is the effect we want to create for cities? What do we want for our cities? That's the effect. But efficiency is to do it with a minimum of resources. And I think that's one question we should ask about Cairo and other cities. What do we want for the future? And then efficiency becomes a means, not a target in itself. Okay? I'll talk, but I would like you to think with me about what is space. Do we want to create a space as a container of activities? Do we want to create a space as a container of symbols, signs, and semiotics? You all know semiotics and semiology, whether you're referring to Pierce or de Saussure. You want a space to become a data supermarket, because that's what's happening now. We have tons of sensors everywhere, and you can collect a lot of data because your mobiles, your cars, buildings contain a huge number of sensors. That's why in my presentation I wanted to talk about senses versus sensors. Okay, so in the old days when you had to park your car, you were relying on your eyes and ears. Now you're relying on this sensor that does did. Okay, so what happens when that little beep doesn't work? Victor Hugo, الكاتب الفرنسي المعروف, he was already predicting that architecture is becoming bare and shabby and poor, you know, and it's looking for artists and it's looking for other minds, really. And I think I tend to agree with him to a certain extent. Yes, guys, I need another video here. And to do this presentation, I asked the youngsters, how many Students, are they here? Students? Okay. I'll share with you what our students think about architecture and the future of architecture in this other video. And this is when they do their senior showcase. And we've asked them a few questions. I was looking at this, and it is really telling because they're thinking of different things, really. And the way they want to shape the world. They're computer freaks, and I understand that. And they want to integrate parametric design. They simulate their buildings. They see if they are consuming a lot of. I need sound here.
As a public plaza to bring people together for ideas such as tolerance and philosophy.
My project is basically a healing space that was created based on the Oriental ontology of the healing process.
I'm designing an Alzheimer's research center and daycare facility. What I wanted to do was reflect not only the brain's form, but also the brain's function.
Okaz is the name of the project. It was a market that happened in the pre-Islamic times.
Okaz.
So I wanted to bring that back and do it in a modern way.
I want to take my passion towards cars and street racing and represent it in an architectural project.
The Rematerial is a recycling center where people can bring their own object from their house and then recycle.
Retiramentality is a project that aims to encourage people to rethink about retirement and change the way we look at aging.
I wanted to make Dubai the rising metropolis with more people walking around it.
They want people to walk. This is augmented reality. The student presented a flat model and then she used an iPad.
I graduated from AUD 2015. I'm currently working at OMA, Office of Metropolitan Architecture.
Modular structure, moving architecture, changing.
There's a great range of projects. Some of the models here are extremely amazing and sculptural, and it's equivalent to any professional level that we see outside in the market.
It's an impressive body of work from all of the students. Really accomplished something with regard to the facility with which the students produce different types of work.
Some of these students are Egyptians. Beautiful minds.
Throughout their 5-year journey, students are molded into the next generation of innovative architects who are inspired by Dubai, one of the most dynamic cities in the world.
All right. The next slide will be about a few questions I want to share with you as well. These are the questions. When I saw this picture of Dubai, I was thinking, is this a neo-pop architecture? I remember Charles Jenks when he wrote God Owns Junkyard. What do we intend for architecture? Just throw some shapes and forms and put them together and go back to another Vegas, maybe? Is that what we want for architecture? Is it a machine à habiter, just what, like what Le Corbusier has thought of? Because now we have the means to create a more effective machine à habiter, machine to live in. Is the old function versus form still alive? Or is it being replaced by efficiency versus effectiveness? Is space a container of activities or a place, my place, your place, the car's place? Is it a semiotic space? Is it an illusion? And when I mention illusion, I'm talking about augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. Or is it a data supermarket? Because now planners are using all this amount of data to decide about space. And I think this is wrong, because that helps with the decision. It's not the decision itself, okay? And I have seen that so often. Or is it simply a way of life? I think we have to decide upon these questions. In Dubai, we experience a lot of stress problems. Yet, it's a very comfortable place. I can tell you, you can order food, it comes on the spot, you pay online, you reserve your parking slot before you go anywhere, because we noticed that about 20% of the traffic is about cars looking for a parking. So they have come up with this app, and you can now book your parking slot and you go, and you don't have to go around. You know, they've noticed that taxis are most of the time empty, so they have decided to invest in Uber, so these guys don't turn around. You have to book your car first. So they have been efficient, very, very efficient, but there is this stress problem. We don't know why. And I'm going to do the test right now in this room, okay? You're going to see two identical dolphins now. If you see that they are different in any way, it means that you are under stress. Okay? Are you ready? All right, let's do that. So, anybody suffering from stress? They are identical? Okay. Is it a machine habité? You know, it was funny when I looked at these pictures. I'm afraid if we follow the technology right now, we will be building shelters only, very bare minimum shelters. Because then wearing your glasses, which are now bulky, but I suppose that in a few years they will be like contact lenses, you can put the furniture you want, you can have all the fantasy you want. So, are architects going to build only shelters and then fill them up with any illusion they want? It is funny how, you see, humanity moved from, I think that this is the most disturbing thing that happened since the alphabet. You know, the alphabet converted real things like laughter to L-A-U-G-H-T-E-R. It's fantastic when you abstract it. You reduced the meaning of a particular thing to just few letters. I think that's what's happening now. We're going back to the real thing. It's another illusion. I remember someone said, Descartes, the philosopher, said, because I think I exist. And now, the funny part, there is a paradox. If you don't have a Facebook account, a Twitter account, you know, all of these are not real. If you don't have any of these, you don't exist. So to exist, you need to not exist. It is really something you want to think about. So yes, we can go from Le Corbusier, who's very proud of his box, and I have a problem with Le Corbusier. I'm Algerian. Okay, he wanted to build Obus, you know, this huge thing along the beach where cars would be on top of the, thank God he didn't. Okay, but there is a building where, you know, you can drive on top of. There is one. Okay, only one. To this augmented reality, the guy carrying the model, to a bare minimum. And then you fill with your imagination. The world of meanings, symbols, semantics. Is architecture going to be a language? or it will stop being a language. Because we've worked on semantics, the relationship between a sign and an object. We've worked on behavioral elements, the way people react to buildings, but we have worked very little on syntactics, which is the grammar of architecture. And I think now, with all of these things, we're going to forget about all of it. You see? So there is a danger there. You all know that architecture is not alone. It's an interaction. It's a matrix where the dimensions are interfering, interacting. We're all the time integrating things. We all know that architecture is a compromise between different actors in the city. And that's why I put the checker over there, where you have different players. And we all know that unless we bring together these in our minds, nothing will happen. Cars, driverless cars, driverless cars. Who needs a traffic light when you have driverless cars? They never, okay. I thought you were the one. Sorry, take 2 minutes. So you will not need traffic light because the traffic will be light. And I think that we'll have to think about it very carefully. I think there is a lot of space which has been underused, like kilometers, many, many kilometers of road, which are used occasionally. A lot of space in parkings that is not being used effectively and could be reorganized. I think that there are a lot of spaces that are not occupied, and maybe we should think about that. There are malls that are not being used now, okay, as we speak. And you have numbers here, and you can check these. And there are a lot of sensors around, okay? And are we going to rely on them or use our senses? I suggest that we keep only at least common sense. Thank you for listening.